Welcome back to Channel Nation of Glory. Today, we bring you a story that travels deep into the roots of professional wrestling, a story about legacy, heart, and a man who carried the weight of a family name on his shoulders with pride, grit, and courage. This is the story of Barry Windham, the son of the legendary Blackjack Mulligan, and one of the most underrated yet profoundly respected wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots. Barry Windham's story is one of quiet greatness. In a world dominated by loud personalities, Barry didn't need to shout. He didn't need to boast or cause chaos to make people notice him. His wrestling spoke for him. His presence in the ring told stories that words never could. He was a craftsman, a storyteller, and a man who embodied the spirit of what professional wrestling truly stood for: passion, honor, and family. Born on July 4, 1960, in Sweetwater, Texas, Barry was destined for the squared circle. Growing up as the son of Blackjack Mulligan, wrestling was in his blood. His childhood wasn't filled with toys or cartoons, it was filled with stories from the road, of his father battling legends in smoky arenas, of the old school days when wrestling was more about pride than fame. Barry learned early that wrestling wasn't just a career, it was a calling. But being the son of a legend came with its own shadows. The expectations were high, and the comparisons were endless. People expected Barry to be his father, to carry the same aura, the same voice, the same dominance. But Barry chose a different path. He didn't want to just follow the legacy, he wanted to build his own. When he first stepped into the ring, you could see the natural athleticism. Tall, lean, and graceful, he moved like no one else. His footwork was smooth, his timing perfect, and his understanding of the crowd was instinctive. Whether he was locking up, throwing a lariat, or delivering his signature superplex, Barry had that rare gift: he made wrestling look real. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Barry Windham started making waves in the wrestling territories. His rise was steady but powerful. Every match was a lesson in psychology and storytelling. He wasn't just fighting opponents, he was making them look good. He knew that wrestling wasn't just about winning, it was about giving fans a reason to believe. Then came his time in the National Wrestling Alliance, the NWA, the land of legends. It was here that Barry began to shine under the brightest lights. The NWA at that time was filled with giants: Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Harley Race, men who defined an era. Yet, Barry didn't fade in their shadow. He stood shoulder to shoulder with them. His matches with Ric Flair are still remembered by purists as some of the finest displays of technical wrestling ever seen. Flair himself often praised Barry, calling him one of the most gifted wrestlers he had ever faced. The chemistry between them was pure magic. Flair, the flamboyant champion, versus Barry, the quiet storm, it was the perfect contrast. Their matches weren't just athletic contests, they were emotional battles between pride and ambition. Every time Barry stepped into the ring with Flair, the crowd believed they might witness history, that maybe, just maybe, the humble Texan would dethrone the Nature Boy. But Barry's journey wasn't just about rivalry, it was also about brotherhood. In the wrestling world, he built bonds that went beyond the ring. His friendship with Mike Rotunda led to one of the most beloved tag teams of the 1980s, the USA Express. Together, they brought energy, athleticism, and teamwork to the World Wrestling Federation. Their matches were filled with excitement, and their entrances carried an undeniable patriotic spirit. When their theme, Real American, hit the speakers, the crowd roared with pride. Ironically, that same song would later become Hulk Hogan's anthem, but it was Barry and Rotunda who first walked out to it. During his time in WWF, Barry proved that he could hang with the best on the grandest stage. He wrestled stars like Iron Sheik, Nikolai Volkov, and many others. But despite the fame and exposure, Barry's heart always longed for wrestling that told deeper stories. The bright lights of WWF were thrilling, but he missed the grit and authenticity of NWA, the kind of wrestling that made his blood race. And so, he returned. When Barry came back to the NWA, he wasn't just another name, he was a man on a mission. This time, he was more mature, more refined, and more determined to cement his legacy. His in-ring IQ was unmatched, his storytelling flawless. And soon, he would join forces with one of the most dominant factions in wrestling history, the Four Horsemen. Alongside Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard, and later Lex Luger, Barry became part of a brotherhood that defined excellence. The Horsemen were everything fans both loved and hated: powerful, arrogant, elite. But Barry brought something different to the group, a sense of balance. He wasn't the loudest or flashiest, but when the time came to deliver in the ring, he was the one everyone trusted. His heel turn to join the Horsemen remains one of the most shocking moments of its era. Fans who adored Barry for his honesty and integrity were heartbroken to see him aligned with Flair and company. But that's what made him so great. He could make you feel. Whether you cheered or booed, you were emotionally invested. Barry understood the psychology of wrestling better than most. He knew how to pull your heartstrings without saying a word. Through the late 1980s and early 1990s, Barry continued to evolve. He captured multiple championships, including the NWA World Heavyweight title, an accomplishment that put his name among the elite. For Barry, that moment wasn't just about holding gold. It was about validation. It was proof that the boy from Sweetwater, the son of Blackjack Mulligan, had become a world champion on his own terms. But behind the success, there were struggles. Wrestling, for all its glory, is also a lonely road. The constant travel, the physical toll, the endless expectations they wear on even the strongest souls. Barry faced injuries that slowed him down, and personal battles that tested his resolve. Yet, he never lost his love for the business. He never lost the humility that defined him. Even when he stepped away from the spotlight, he remained connected to the art form that made him who he was. And while many fans today remember the flashier names, the ones who sold out arenas and headlined WrestleMania, true wrestling fans know Barry Windham was special. He was the wrestler's wrestler. A man respected by his peers, admired by fans, and remembered for his integrity. In later years, as wrestling evolved into a new era of entertainment, Barry's influence could still be seen. Many modern stars cite him as an inspiration, from Randy Orton to Edge, from Cody Rhodes to Seth Rollins. His technique, his timing, his storytelling, they've all become lessons passed down through generations. And there's something poetic about it that Barry Windham, the son of a legend, became a legend quietly, through his work, his respect, and his love for the sport. His family name continued to shine, especially through his nephew, the late, great Bray Wyatt. When fans saw Bray captivate audiences with emotion, darkness, and heart, they could see echoes of Barry's storytelling legacy. The Windham bloodline continues to shape wrestling, even today. Barry's story isn't about fame. It's about legacy. It's about doing what you love with everything you have, even when the world doesn't give you the recognition you deserve. It's about honoring your family, your craft, and your name. He may not have always been in the main event, but he was always the backbone of the show. He made others shine. He made fans believe. And that's what true greatness is. So, as we look back at his career from the dusty Texas arenas to the bright lights of WWE and NWA, one thing becomes clear: Barry Windham didn't just wrestle. He lived wrestling. Every move, every gesture, every match was a chapter in a story of passion and purpose. And today, as fans continue to remember his contributions, one thing is certain: Barry Windham's legacy will never fade. He may have retired, but his spirit will always live on in every ring, every roar of the crowd, and every young wrestler who dreams of making their mark the way he did. Thank you for watching Nation of Glory. If Barry Windham's story inspired you, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional, powerful stories from the world of wrestling and Hollywood. Because legends like Barry Windham remind us it's not about being the loudest. It's about being unforgettable. See you in the next story.